Hey, what's up, you guys? This is What We Talk About. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 6. Today we have my boy Kumbi, my boy Koda, and we have a special guest, someone who's been very close to me and one of my best friends, DJ Kumbi, here with us today.
How sweet.
So one of the things that we decided that we wanted to touch on this time is drugs and addiction. Like, how do people even get started? You know what I mean? What is it that drives someone to want to do something like that?
I think it's the feeling.
Mm.
So if you've ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street or Limitless,
Right.
like, so I haven't seen, I don't remember much of The Wolf of Wall Street, but on Limitless, like, he's going downhill. He's a writer.
Yeah, he's a writer.
He's a writer.
Yeah.
So he's writing, and his stories aren't doing. And I think he's trying to write a book, and his like agent is trying to get the book, and he hasn't even started on it or something.
All right.
So like his life is great, and that's one thing I love about the movie is like it's like played in some downscaled gray version, and then when he gets the pill, and he sees how it makes him feel, and like in the movie you notice it with like the scenes, like everything brightens up, everything around him is brighter.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I freaking love that movie, bro. Like, straight up, that's one of my favorite movies ever.
I think it highlights it too. It like highlights the feeling of drugs.
Yeah.
I don't know personally because I've never used drugs, but like I think that's a good interpretation because I'm assuming that if you're taking a drug, you're looking for a high or a good time, or you're down in the ruts and so you're trying to find a way out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just looking for nothing. You're looking to get away from
bored.
Right. The only thing with that movie, though, is that it wasn't a drug, right? It wasn't intended to be seen as a drug because it's supposed to help you use like 100% of your brain, right? So it turns you into like your best self. But I agree with what you're saying because people watch that and that's probably how people imagine it feeling when you pop a couple pills or two. No, but I agree with what you're saying though, because I'm sure people think of drugs in that like essence, you know?
So since
Or
you say
maybe when
that,
they
just out of
take it.
curiosity, what's your guys' definition of a drug? Like, would you consider like is steroids a drug?
Yes. Is
You know what I'm
Advil a
saying?
drug?
Is Advil a drug? Is over the counter medication?
So
a drug?
anything
Right.
that would alter your normal state of mind? Yes. Yeah.
So caffeine.
So caffeine.
Could be a
like
drug,
caffeine
yeah.
is a drug.
Is caffeine a drug?
Porn is a drug. Pre-workout.
Oh, definitely. Pre-workout is definitely a drug.
Like,
You see some of that stuff, bro? It's like barely legal.
It's hard to get out of the needle too.
It's like there's literally amphetamines in some of those pre-workouts, bro.
I use pre-workouts all the time, but I don't think they alter my state of mind. They give me a lot of energy. They make me have to
Energy
shit.
that you didn't have before you took it, so does that not alter?
But then,
I think it
that's what I'm saying.
alters.
Is caffeine a drug then?
I think
Say
anything
it
that
is.
alters
It's-
you, like in general.
I mean, it's
Physically.
a stimulant. Caffeine is a stimulant.
That's fair.
Which
Just
is
like alcohol is a depressant. So,
Depends on what I'm sipping.
but alcohol isn't a drug.
That's what I'm saying though, is like, it
I
depends on
can
your
be.
definition of drugs. Because I think anything that you can get addicted to can be considered a drug.
Well, it can be a drug and you don't get addicted to it. I mean, like Advil and things like that are
What's the
tougher
saying?
prescriptions.
Love is a drug?
So are you in
Emotions
love?
drugs?
I guess not. Are we all addicted?
Yeah. I don't know, man, but
I mean, we won't expand on all those. I just wanted to know your definition of a drug. Because my idea of a drug that pill he's taking is a drug. To me, at
I
least.
agree.
Because it's a pill. He's popping pills.
it's popping pills.
So even if it doesn't matter what the pill is doing, it's completely altering his state of mind. And he's
Right.
getting a high from it. So I would say that would be a drug. But
I don't know, man. I mean, he's down and out. His life sucks in the beginning. Like, he looks like trash, dude. You think
is
he's
weed
above?
is weed a drug?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd say
What does
it is.
weed do?
Alters your state of mind. It depends on what you take,
It's a
too.
depressant.
Most people that
Technically.
take weed start to feel happier. Would that be a correct statement? Happier
It
or
depends on your state of mind to be 100%. Because I mean, if you're depressed and in your stuff, you could use marijuana or weed and be even more depressed. It just depends on like
Yeah,
more mentally.
that one's a tricky one. It depends on what strain like you're using. It depends on like the type of person you are.
Who you're with,
who
if
you're
you're with
with.
anybody.
See, I think the crazy thing about that is that supposedly what is the THC chemical is like almost identical to a chemical that's naturally produced in our brains, and that's why it has this high that people get from it that's unlike any other drug. If we're gonna call it a gateway drug, I don't know if I would do that.
But the media
Like, 'cause, like,
representation
I mean,
of weed is that when you take weed, you feel relaxed, you feel
Right.
That's pretty
happier,
universal.
less
Relax is
stressful.
pretty
There you go.
universal.
like less stressed.
Mhm.
So
But it depends too, like how much you take, because you can have anxiety attacks not because you're too high or anything like that, but just because you're freaking out because you're not thinking the way you normally do.
Right.
You
You're
just
like
feel different. You can
But
feel
that's-
your heartbeat. You can
I
you just
guess
feel
that's
things
what
you
I'm trying
don't
to understand
normally
is like
feel.
because you say it's a
Right.
drug, but he's saying it's not. He doesn't
I mean-
consider it a drug. But I'm like, if you
I
take
don't
too
know.
much,
I mean,
if
I
you take
guess
too
it
much
is,
meth,
but-
don't you like lose your fucking mind?
That's, you lose your life. You take too much.
Well, I
you
mean,
OD.
like you do
If you
crack
take too
and
much what?
coke.
Meth or coke or.
oh heck yeah,
Those
yeah,
people
yeah.
like
those
that.
people are like cracked out of their heads. Like they start like freaking out and start thinking they're seeing stuff like schizophrenia type stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if weed is basically essentially doing the same thing just on a lower scale, how would it not be a drug? It would just be a lower scale drug.
It is. It's a drug.
But then at the same time, you got to remember
It's just
everybody
organic.
handles things differently, because there are people like that you wouldn't even know use hardcore drugs like meth and things like that, and they're like high functioning members of society. You wouldn't even know. And there's some people that they say not even once, like you
Like the
hit
guy
that shit
on,
once and you're
on Wolf
done.
of Wall Street. I think if you met him in person, I don't think you'd know he was taking.
Oh yeah, I mean you can kind of tell now, but it's been years and years and years that he used.
I mean, yeah, now.
But
yeah.
I mean, in the movie, like he starts off
Yeah.
without it, and he only does it to get through the day, to
In
get
the
through
movie,
the job.
was, like the way he was portrayed, like I don't think that like if I would have met him in person, I would have thought he was just like, I don't know, really outgoing. I don't think I would have.
Yeah, some people just flat out got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Well, and, like it's hard to know, because like some people you see and like you would have no idea. They can be really weird and not on drugs, or they could be really normal and on some hard stuff. It's hard
That's
to
for
tell.
damn sure.
It's hard to tell.
I met some people, man. I'm like, you probably need drugs, man.
I know a guy.
No, but it's crazy how people start, man. Like workplaces like that. Every time I think about that movie, I remember when I used to sell cars. Like the place I worked at, I literally I worked with people that did coke on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was crazy to me, bro. Like right in front of me.
Yeah.
Don't do this, man.
So
I'm like, we're just, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's just
it is weird to see
people.
stuff like
It's
that.
the people you're around, wherever you work. I don't know, emotions. Looking for like some kind of like relief. I don't know, man. It's crazy.
Well, and for some people, it's just like the hype too. Like you get hyped up that like you will die if you do this stuff, and it's so bad for you. And then you watch people do it 6 times in a day, and you're like, I'll be all right. And then you just try it, and then you could be hooked, you could not. But
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. I feel like
What is crack supposed to do? Does it just give you a lot of energy? Is that
it
what it's
just
supposed
depends
to
on
be designed for?
pretty much, it's like a
It's like
definitely
a
an upper.
super caffeine.
honestly, like okay, what's crack? Is crack cocaine?
Like coke, yeah.
I think
Is
about the
crack
stuff that
cocaine.
people like pour out on the table and they sniff it up.
That could be
I guess
meth
that's
too.
cocaine,
That could
but-
be coke, meth. I mean, you can sniff up.
So
just
it's
about
all
anything.
pretty much
Whatever
like
it's called.
the same shit.
The white powder.
It's all
White
white
Cocaine.
powder. Yeah, it's all,
Powder.
it all look the same. It just comes in different forms. So like, you know, but you can
Is there a
crush
pill
anything
version
into a
of
white
Coke?
powder. You can
You
take
take a
snort
pill
it.
version of a coke, of cocaine.
You can put it in a pill.
Probably could, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought I saw a movie where
heard
somebody
of
took
it.
like a clear pill. And it was supposed to be crack or something.
Usually it's more Molly.
Oh really?
When you take it in a pill,
Starting to
you're
sound like a
getting,
pro here. Tell me more.
cut it back. Cut it back.
Dang, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I figured it was just a form of like each drug or something like that, because people say like crack or cocaine and like meth and stuff, and you see them in movies, and half the time it all looks the same to me. I'm like, I don't understand.
So
the difference.
anytime that like I'm saying this stuff, I'm just going off like the media's representation of it. It's like when media portrays crack, they portray it as the white powder and you sniff it off the table or your finger or whatever.
Yeah.
Meth is the needles you shooting
Yeah.
up on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's what I'm talking about. I didn't know that it all comes in all sorts of forms and stuff.
Yeah, it all. And that's the weirdest part is all of it. You can snort all of it. You can shoot all of it. You can smoke all of it. Like you can. There's multiple
And shooting
ways to
it
do
just
it.
gives you a faster high,
Instant.
right? Because it's going
Instant,
straight
right
in your
your
bloodstream.
Yeah.
So.
But it's a more harsh high, so like it's more intense, and it's a lot harder when you come down or get off.
What does it feel like to just be fucking drunk? Drunk compared to high.
I don't like being drunk. I don't. Even
What's
drink
the difference between drunk and high? Like what is the feeling?
Drunk is like, to me, bubbly and stuff like that, but you're also like off.
Stupid.
So like in Dare and stuff like that, did you do the glasses? So like those were not how it feels to me. But like as you're walking and stuff, like you just kind of realize you're like, I'm kind of tipping a little bit. But you're drunk, you're like, I don't give a fuck. Until you're already falling and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. That liquid confidence.
Yeah.
You'll fall, but you won't feel it.
Yeah, and then, like you don't feel pain. It doesn't hurt.
And then
You're
you
just
get
like,
up,
oh,
you
shit,
feel
I fell.
invincible.
That's like I compare it to like being a kid, because like kids like they're just klutzy. Like you'll fall, but like they'll get right up. They're like, oh shit, whatever. Try to get up, fall on the way up again. Like that's just how it is for me.
Yeah, I think that's as far as I like to take it though. I don't like to actually get like shit faced.
No,
like,
it's
when I was in
not
high
happening.
school, yeah, I guess, and maybe like a year or two after that. But when you get drunk, like if we level it out like a buzz and then drunk, and then you're talking about comparing it to being high. High really depends on like if you're a buzz high or like a drunk high. If you
The difference
just so we
for
can
me
make
is
a
like
comparison.
I can drink, but like I know I can't responsibly do things. Like you just think, you think.
Literally, like it's almost like extreme focus.
It's really hard. Yeah.
But it's almost like having blinders. You know what I mean? Because you're only thinking about that one thing, and that's what can make it obviously like dangerous, because you're thinking about that one thing, and you got your blinders on,
Yeah,
and
you're
there's
not paying
something
attention
maybe
to
here
around you.
happening, right? And you're not paying
That's
attention.
if you're drunk.
That's high.
That's if you're high.
Oh, if
When
you're high,
drunk,
you can't even drive. You think you're going straight, and you're like clear the fuck over
If
here.
you're high,
when
that's
you're
how you
drunk.
are
No,
drunk.
when you're drunk.
When you're drunk,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't drive. It's
Yeah,
hard.
like,
Like you
don't-
feel
don't
normal
drink
when
and
you
drive.
Like you start driving, and you're like, oh, I feel fine, but like you're not.
So
Yeah, it's-
so
you just
so
don't
compare a buzz high to a buzz drunk. What's the difference to you? Like in your own state of mind, what's the difference between a buzz high and a buzz drunk? Not how
Just
not
the
how
way it
people
feels.
portray you, but
Just the way it feels. But
So
like does a high feel better? Like you feel better, or does a
I think
drunk
it's
feel
different for
better,
everybody,
or-
because like for me, I don't even drink unless it's social. Like even when it's social, I don't like to get messed up. But I can get super high because I can still walk, I can still talk, I can still function, but like I just feel good, like floating on a cloud, like relaxed, like my mind's just thinking about things. You listen to music and stuff like that, and you're just like you zone out, like you forget about the world and you zone out. When you're drunk, like you're just you having a
Is
good
it true
time.
you
with
get
it.
more focused?
It just
you're
depends.
high?
You can. You definitely focus a
So-
lot more.
okay, I mean it's been a long time since I've smoked weed, but I remember that what I used to like to do is I would just smoke a little bit, because to me it would motivate me. Like I don't know if you remember, but like when we graduated, like a year after we were living over on Iona,
Yeah.
like I would smoke a little bit and start cleaning.
Mhm.
I just look around and I notice,
Time out.
and there's no hesitation.
You say Iona Hill?
Over on Iona.
Yeah, when I lived in
Wait, on the hill?
I wish we
What'd
lived
you
on the
live
hill,
there?
bro.
No, but it's just like something weird about it. It just does that to me. Like if I smoke a little bit, because I didn't want to get like super high and not know what I'm doing, or maybe I was paranoid or scared of it.
Sure.
So I just did a little bit, and I noticed things, and it was so easy for me to just go grab it and pick it up. And then next thing you know, I'm cleaning, and then the house is
The
clean,
kitchen's
and I
done.
feel good, and
He's
Right.
nude and he's wearing nothing but a house mentality, bunny ears.
Why don't you do that at our house?
Yeah, right. Now you just gotta go buy some.
I know. Get him some
Here you
weed.
go, Ivan. Get it done.
yeah,
Laundry's
no,
done.
but
So basically, you both would prefer a buzz high over buzz drunk.
I hate being drunk, to be honest with you. I really don't. That's why if I drink and social, I'll only drink a couple of beers or a couple. I just don't like the feeling.
for me, being like buzz drunk is more fun like if there's more people, because if I'm like alone
Same.
and I'm just like sipping a little bit and I'm like watching a show or something, I usually get tired. I just get more tired, and you know what I mean, it just kind of kills my vibe if anything. Unless, like I said, unless there's people around, or if I'm playing like Fortnite or something like that, then something that keeps my mind active, it makes me
It's
more.
like, 'cause when we play Fortnite a
more
lot, I always hear, "Hold on, I gotta grab my beer."
Yeah, we're gonna get a dub.
All right, dub time.
The one thing that is good about the drinking compared to
Next thing you
smoking
know, it's
though,
8 a.m.
is the courage. When you smoke, I overthink things. I won't ask questions because in my mind I'm overthinking, like, what if they say this, or what if they get offended, or what if, when I'm drunk, I don't care how you feel. I'm gonna ask you, and if you want to get mad about it, we'll go outside and we'll come right back in. I don't care.
So if you're high and that's how you think, what happens if you're somebody who like is a natural thinker like that? You're so in depth with your thinking that you're thinking at like how you just said, like before you ask a question, you're thinking about the question. How do I say the question? How does it come off? How's this person gonna perceive it? If you're high, what does that just enhance that so you're like even more paranoid?
It just depends.
Or
So
would
like
it
you said, some
pull
people
you back so you're more relaxed with it?
If your state of mind is that most of the time, then it will more than likely be that more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think if you're like a deep thinkers I think usually like to drink a little bit more because drinking loosens you up. It gets you out of your shell. You just, I don't know. It just.
It helps
does
you take
something.
it from
Takes the lid
here
off the
to
freaking drug.
here, like without having a thought. Like the anxiety's just gone. That's what
Yeah.
you just no anxiety for it.
I feel like I'm asking 1,000 questions, but
I mean, you gotta
I
understand it to
I
talk
don't know
about
any of like I said, I've never personally experienced it for myself, so I don't really know it all. But when you get drunk off wine,
it. Yeah,
what's
and they say
worse? Like what's the worst way of alcohol to get drunk off of? Like
everybody's different because
or
some
the
people like
easiest
wine.
way?
The same thing with weed. Like there's different kinds of drunks. You can drink tequila and like for some reason you're just emotional. At least me with tequila. I drank tequila one night and I was talking to Michelle about our kids or something and like how just terrible they can be sometimes. I started crying. And like in my head, I was like, why am I crying? But I was like, I don't care. This is how I feel and I'm passionate about it. And then the next day I'm like, why did I do that?
I get that way just watching a movie.
Yeah.
Or looking at a picture.
When you could be
Naturally or
sober.
drinking tequila?
I don't know. I think that's
It just
something that
depends
grew
on
on
the
me
drink.
because I wasn't like that before. But I watch a movie now. If there's a sentimental moment and there's like something that means a lot to somebody in that show, and it's one of those moments, you know what I mean?
So naturally.
Oh, I'll start crying. Bro.
Or it doesn't matter, natural
Sober.
or sober.
I don't know. I just that stuff like
See,
resonates with me a lot.
I'm more emotional sober too. When I'm drunk, like, I'll feel it, but I won't.
Mm-hmm. Like you play Harry Styles' "Adore Me," I'm gonna start crying
You just show you a picture of Harry
because
Styles.
that's the song I used to propose.
It's the one of him
To
on
my
the
girl.
front, the cover in the dress. You start crying.
Okay, no, not like that. Like you gotta play the song.
Okay, so what do you get? What alcohol gets you like
If I'm gonna drink and
the
I have my
most-
choice,
the most jacked up the quickest?
the
I
higher
think it's
proofs
just-
is gonna the liquors are gonna jack you up the quickest
Yeah,
every time. 10 out of
I'm a
10.
big fan.
Okay, so then
Absinthe.
what's your favorite one to drink?
I like Rumplemans. That's 100 proof.
What is a
2 or
Rumpleman?
3. It's
Is that like those cans? that you
mint
drink, like
liquor. It's mint liquor. No, it
It's
comes
like
in
a bottle.
But it's mint liquor, and so like it's thick, and as you drink it, it's just mint. It's a super burning mint.
like mouthwash, like a mint mouthwash.
Like a
Burns
more
your mouth
intense
and you're like-
mouthwash. Yeah, that's literally what it's like. So what I like to do is I'll have a water back, and so like I'll take the shot, and then I take a drink of water without taking a breath in
To
between,
chase it.
and you'll chase it.
So
Yeah.
you take shots of it then?
Yeah,
So
you
like
take shots of it. You can put it on ice and sip it if you want, but liquor, it burns, so like it's hard to chug. The more you swallow, the
Oh,
more
dude, I'm not a big
it
fan of
burns.
drinking liquor. I used to be, but
See, I prefer liquor because I'll drink beer and like my stomach's gonna hurt before I start getting buzzed or drunk. But I'm a heavyweight. I always have been.
yeah.
I'm gonna wait. Different beer brands are just kind of pretty much the same as like soda. Then I'm assuming.
Exactly.
Depends on your flavor.
It just
Yeah.
depends on what you
Like,
like.
if you like Dr Pepper, Coke,
They,
Mountain Dew.
they come with like more
Yep,
hops
it's all
or
bad
something
for you.
like that and stuff like that, and it's just the flavor.
So what's your favorite one
What?
to get drunk off? If you had to pick
Look.
any type of alcohol in the world to get drunk off that makes you feel the best, which one's it gonna be?
Oh, I don't know. That's crazy. If we're talking liquors, I like whiskey and bourbon.
Just any
Good
alcohol.
tasting and it makes you feel good. And then if it's beers, dude, probably like Modelo.
See, dude, honestly, and like
Honestly, when it comes to beer, there's two different categories though. There's regular beer and then there's IPAs.
Ah.
If we're talking regular beer, yeah, like Modelo's probably the best, and a Corona or something. And then
IPAs and
IPAs,
lagers, though, those are
that's
tougher.
different.
They're like a whole different taste.
Yeah, some of them I think are disgusting.
Yeah.
They're bad, but
I think all beer was gross though. Like it's for sure when they say it's an acquired taste, like you just have to learn to force yourself to drink it,
Yeah.
and then after a while, like it just tastes like carbonated water, really.
that's how I was in high school.
To me,
I
like all
hated
beers taste the same. Bud Light or Coors or like they just all taste like beer.
Water.
I do too.
Oh, I
That's why
love it
you
now.
won't catch me drinking a beer unless someone puts it in my hand. I won't go buy them. I'm not gonna. But I'll drink it if it's there. I'll socially, but
So is alcohol a drug then?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's crazy, man. At least alcohol is like legal as long as you drink responsibly. Like we do not condone doing any stupid shit. Everyone's done things that they don't mean to do, but yeah, it's definitely not a good idea to do like drink and drive. Just always remember to have a designated driver with you, or
Just be
stay
smart
home
about
and do
man.
it. You know what I mean?
If you're not mature enough to drink and handle yourself and do the right thing, don't drink. Straight up.
Is,
Yep, simple as
the social media portrayal of like drugs and alcohol more accurate or less accurate? Like I'll give you an example. So like, you go to a frat party, everybody's drinking beer, so everybody's like fucking crazy, doing flips, doing freaking whatever, the thing where you hang upside down and take a freaking
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
like-
Kickstand, baby.
keg stand. Like beer is crazy. Or like, you take a girl out, you go to a fancy restaurant, you drink some wine to get a little buzz. Like,
To
are
get
those portrayals more
a home
like, are
run.
those accurate or are those less accurate? Or like in a movie, you're smoking weed and you're funny, or you're laid back, you're chill, you're like a little more upbeat.
Yeah, they're
I mean,
pretty
it's all
consistent.
pretty accurate, but like you
Mhm.
said, it comes down to the person too. Because, like there's people that we know that can smoke a little weed and they hate every second of it. Like that mind altered, like hate it.
Yeah.
And then there's people that
I prefer to be sober. Like I used to like to do stuff like that, but I don't know. I just honestly, it goes back to being like responsible. Like, you know what I mean? I've had a lot of jobs, man. That if you were to ever get in trouble or something like that, you lose your job. So it's been a long time since I've like touched anything like that. But you get used to it. I feel like I just remember the feeling, and I can almost put myself back into that state of mind, like if I want. You know what I mean?
And for me, like if I have something to do, I want to be sober. Every time.
Exactly.
What about drunk sex?
Oh,
Drunk
buddy.
sex?
Drunk
Drunk
sex?
sex?
Fuck, I love drunk sex.
Yeah. It's
What's
pretty
the
fun.
difference?
It's
Like, what
You're
makes it
in
that
better?
endurance.
confidence factor.
Yeah.
It definitely kicks in.
Mm-hmm. You're
Both
just
parties.
willing to try new things without even like caring, because usually you're like, oh, I wonder if
I
like,
must
they
have
like
to be
this.
drunk.
She must have a natural drug then.
I don't know. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, like in personal experience, drunk sex is fun just because, like you said, just being more open.
Mm. So talk about the fun part. How, like, do you guys know anyone who is actually addicted? Like, considered to be an
yeah.
alcoholic? Like, you know what I mean? What do you think that's like? Because that's a different story right there.
All right.
When it gets to that point, you're. I don't know. I don't know. I've never been there. You know what I mean? But clearly, there's something that's like holding them. To it.
Right.
Right, and they can't seem to let it go for some reason, whether
Well,
it's alcohol or some other kind of drug. Like, what do you think it is? Like, I want to ask you because obviously, like, you drink
Yes.
or you have
Sure.
drank before. What do you think it is that would, like, drive somebody to go back to it? You know what I mean? Like that though,
Right.
to that extent.
Well, drinking, I mean, pressure is probably a big one when it comes to drinking.
You think so?
But I think for drugs, it's not only like the feeling of the high, but the not wanting the feeling of the low. Does that make sense?
Oh, like okay, trying to avoid it.
So
Like, I know people that have done like harder drugs, like methamphetamines or something, and they love the high, but when you come off of methamphetamines, it's different than waking up with a hangover. Like you're physically sick, you're cold sweats, you're puking, like you're sick, like you're shaking, you're like your mental is foggy, it's
now,
miserable.
does that happen like anytime you take it?
Every
or if
single time you take
if
it.
you are just addicted to it and you take it often.
Anytime you take it, you try it even one time, you get the high like you normally would, but you get the low because every high comes down, and the come down is worse. The feeling
How
on
bad
it
do you
is
think it gets?
worse.
Like you go into a depression type thing, or
You-
like it's
you
worse
do.
physically because you're sick.
Both, like it messes with your mind, like you feel depressed, kind of not depressed like a sad and I want to kill myself, but like you just feel miserable, like you woke up on your worst day, your body hurts, you're super sick, And like in your mental, like it as a comparison, you still have to feel like this, and you have to go to work, and you have to deal with people, and you have to, like, it's hurt. I cannot stress enough how terrible a come down is. But I think that's why people keep using, because if you're in your come down or on the come down and you use again, you're out of your come down. You're back on top of the world. There's no come down anymore. And then you got how, depending on how much you use, a good couple of hours before you start coming down again. Hours to days, depending on what you use, I guess. But yeah, and then if you didn't get your come down on the first one, you're gonna come down even harder. And every time you use without missing that come down, your come downs suck. It depends on how you use too, because smoking things, you're gonna come down, but if you're shooting it, you're gonna crash come down.
Okay.
So why would somebody want to get high, or why would they choose to do a drug to get high?
I would say the feeling to start.
Just trying to get away from something, running away from their problems. I mean, let's be real, like, come on. No one has to do drugs.
Right.
It's not hard to be sober. Like, everyone's got problems and, you go through stuff, but it's cover up. It's a Band-Aid. People just trying to...
Yeah. Well, some of it could be
Do you have something to say, brother?
With the AirPod in, I got a text.
Oh my
Mom says
God,
hi.
really?
Trump says drop a like.
It was not for me.
That's crazy, man. I know some people. I do have someone that's like in my family, not my immediate family, but within my family circle, that's had like serious issues. That unfortunately they can't break, And sometimes you try to help somebody, but at the end of the day, you can only really like help yourself. If you're not willing to listen to somebody else, and really, what is it that you can do
this for?
That
I'm not
That's
high
not
enough for
help.
that, dude.
Are you talking about Coda laughing, or are you talking about...
He's sitting here holding my hand. You've been holding hands for like the last 45 seconds.
No. I put my hand like this. He's running like that.
I put my hand over top and Coda's like wiggling his fingers to get in between mine.
Jeez.
It was a really intimate conversation.
I got really good.
Hey, thanks for not caring about what I said.
Yeah,
Oh
sorry.
yeah, no problem.
Kind of like drugs. I get a little hard and I don't care anymore.
To get in the state of a permafried, is that because you do drugs for too long of a period, or is that because you do too much drugs in a short period?
Probably a little bit of both, to be honest.
I think it's a little bit of both,
It
and it's
takes
the
time
method
for
that
sure.
you use.
Yeah.
Because I I've never done anything like this, but this is what I've heard, is that like if you inject yourself, it's way more intense and it's much harder on you because it goes like straight to your bloodstream.
Yeah,
And then it's not
I
just-
think they've said that in movies and everything.
Yeah.
If you inject yourself like that.
And it's not just injecting it, but it's also where you inject it. So I think like from what I've heard, from
In
what I
like
was
a
told,
vein or something, because it'll go straight in. Like it's like a straight automatic high or
Right.
something.
like that's what you see in movies, right? But apparently like people do that stuff like on their neck. And I guess that's where like
But you
the
make a
really
vein,
messy-
So-
it's like a same kind of.
So there's I can't remember the name of the vein or anything, but there's it's like right up here, like in your hip area, in your pelvic area. You shoot up there, and that's the most intense spot, but that's also the #1 spot for ODs and death because it's directly connected to your heart or something like that. And so like when they shoot up from there, it's because like even here and stuff ain't getting it.
Is that, well, never mind, that's steroids I'm thinking of.
But-
that they do the butt
Well, you
shot.
can do that still there. You can do just about anywhere. But like you can do it in inconspicuous places that you would never know. Like some addicts you'll never even see that shoot up, but they'll do it between their toes or they'll do it.
No, I've heard about that one.
Yeah, you'll shoot it up
What
places.
the heck?
Yeah, bro. That's crazy.
That's disgusting.
So then
Yeah.
you think they do that because of like they just don't want
That's
people
weird.
to know they're doing it?
Well,
Or
sometimes
is it
like
because of like it gives them a better high or something?
sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes like you can only shoot up in your arm so many times before like that vein is like tapped. You can't use that for a minute.
Oh,
And this
then
one's
it becomes
tapped,
such
and
a
this
bruised-
one, and this. Yeah.
Yep.
Cause like when
And
you go get blood pulled and stuff like that, it leaves like a little bit of a bruise for a
Right.
little bit.
And that's why like
time.
they'll make you wait a while before they'll pull it again because.
Okay, so that made me think of something. Like, why is it that people are still willing to go through all that trouble? You see what I'm saying? Go through all that crap, like having to find a different vein and put themselves through this pain every single time for that feeling that is going to go away. You know what I mean? You would think that would help push them away from it because it's hard to do. I would hate to have to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, I don't like going to the doctors to get a shot. I couldn't imagine putting my own in my arm like that.
yeah, I don't get that. I'm like, just the fact that they're willing to put themselves through that. I'm like,
I think before they like realize that it's a problem, like it's a problem. So like before they catch themselves, because I'm sure like most people anyways, probably don't start off straight shooting up their arm. They probably like smoked a little here or there, snorted some here or there, and like eventually like that's just not enough, and you like graduate into. But I think that's just addiction, period.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. I just wish there was more we could do to help, you know? For people that are struggling like that. Like, they got, what do they got, like, rehabs?
Yeah.
Rehab centers for them. What do they even do? Like, how is it that a rehab helps somebody? Is it just like a matter of kind of controlling their environment?
I think
Is
so,
that
a
supposed
lot
to
of
be?
it.
Like, the
I mean,
people that are around them, or...
Right. I
sober?
don't know, like, exactly what they do. And I know when you go in, like, you'll see counselors and, like, obviously you're what's the word? Like, you're not in jail or in prison, but, like, you're basically in jail or prison. Like, you're being monitored constantly. You're being watched. Like, you go into a rehab facility and, like, you have to take things like your shoelaces. You can't have shoelaces. And you
No
can't
way.
have... Yeah, because when you come off of those drugs, some people would rather die than have to fight that feeling. And so they take anything that you could hurt yourself with. If you have bracelets, if you have your shoelaces, you'll get like Crocs or slip-ons. Like you can't have anything that you can harm yourself with. You're constantly monitored. So like you're forced to come down. But in between all of that, you're going to classes like Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous or something, and you're hearing other people's stories of overcoming it, and they got like the books and stuff.
But
like
all that stuff you check yourself into, if you're over 18, can you just check yourself out?
It depends. Yeah, if you check yourself in, you can check yourself out whenever you want.
What if somebody else checks you in?
But if you're checked in or you're taken in, it's different. And I'm not like sure the specifics of stuff, and I'm sure like they'll run tests and things
Who
like
takes
that.
you in? Or like the officer?
If you
like
get pulled,
police or
if you get
something?
taken in by a cop, like you can't check yourself out until like you're cleared. I think whoever the officers or the department that takes you in has to clear you to be taken out, or you have to complete the program. Or
But if like a friend or family member took you in, you could still check yourself out.
if a family or a friend member that took you in and like you don't have your rights or whatever that is signed over to them, then yeah, they can check themselves out. So like, and
So in most cases, it's probably not helpful then, because unless the person's willing to stay and go through all that, they can literally
100%.
just go up to the front desk like, I'm checking out.
You have to be willing to change. You can be forced to go through all that. You can get out, and that whole time, the back of your mind, you know you're using. It's that mindset that like you're gonna use when you get out. None of that's gonna help you. You have to be ready to clean up yourself. Most of the time, and for some people, like it's just getting through that low. You get through it, and you realize like you don't want that ever again. I'm sure like everybody's different, but.
So do you think if they taught, like, addicts or people who are trying to recover about setting goals, that would change that?
Well, I think that's part of what they do.
Because what are their goals anyways, right? Like, is if what are you down about?
Right.
Right? Like, I feel like you have to figure out what it is that's making them feel that way. Because like, it's almost like they get to a point where they've been using so long. What are they still like regretting? You know, what are they still like grieving on? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that has still got them down that they feel like they have to keep using drugs? Maybe they just need like a guide to help them like through life again. You know what I mean? Because there's a way more to life than using drugs.
So essentially, then, like, what is it that helps pull them out of that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, some of it, and that's part of like seeing the counselors and stuff when you go in, but like it's just learning to reoccupy your mind and occupy your time is a huge chunk of it. A lot of people who reuse, it's because they sit there and they're not doing anything, they're not active, they're just in their thoughts of, man, if I were high right now, and it, like that's where it starts, and next thing you know, like you're looking for it, but if you can keep yourself occupied, and like that's what they encourage, and you know, like positive thoughts, positive energies, you have a much better chance of fighting your addictions or overcoming any of your issues.
Right. Building better habits.
Right.
Right? That way it's like a habitual thing to set goals or want to do something different.
Right.
You almost essentially have to recreate yourself.
Mm.
No doubt.
That's crazy. I feel like it's definitely like easier said than done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I want a six pack, you know? That means
Talk
I
about
gotta
it.
change my eating habits. I gotta change my workout routine or create one if I don't have one. That is a hard thing to do, man.
And to stick to it, because probably the same thing with addiction, you don't see results the first couple of days. You don't see results the first couple of weeks. Like, you
Damn.
have to force yourself to keep going and tell yourself it's going to get better
What do you think is the hardest
without seeing
part?
the result.
Like the physical part or the mental part?
It's probably both just as bad. I mean, nobody wants to be that sick.
Is it-
Knowing
I think
that
the
there's
mental
a cure,
part
At
for
least
sure.
for me, like working out wise, I think the hardest part of working out is physical. Because you're just physically, you feel exhausted, or you, like you said, you physically don't see results right away, so then you just start being like, I'm not, what's the point? I'm not getting results. Or
Right.
like, even like, for me, when I went to that point where I dropped 170 pounds, I started to feel physically like more tired more often.
Mhm.
So like I felt in better shape, but I almost felt like I couldn't stay up past 9 o'clock anymore. So it was like physically it was harder for me. So you
Right.
think like when you do drugs or you're trying to come out of that, it's harder to win the mental battle or it's harder to win the physical battle?
Probably the mental, because your mental is going to control your physical every time.
That's
Your
what I think.
physical is not really going to control your mental. You gotta have
Especially
the mental
because like
to
they're
your physical.
fighting an urge. You know what I mean? And that's something that's like food. That's like saying no to a cheeseburger with extra pickles and like all the
It's like,
toppings.
you making my mouth water now.
But the
You
reason
know?
I ask is because like if you're feeling down, right? You get up, you go out, you go outside, you go interact with people, so you physically do something to change your mental. That's
Yeah.
why I'm asking that. Is it harder for them to do the physical part of getting up and going to change their mental, or is it harder for them to mentally change themselves physically to go to?
I think it has a lot more to do with their personal motivation and like the way they perceive
Yeah.
motivation, because a lot of people are like, I don't really feel motivated for this, maybe I'm not ready. Like, they don't understand, like, you have to actually force yourself not being motivated to get into it before the motivation starts hitting you, like, I can do this, you know what I mean? Same with like working out or something. You're not going to be sitting on the couch and just get that motivation, like, oh, let's go work out, let's go work. Like, you got to force yourself to get there, and then when you're at the
Right.
gym, when you're in the process of it, that's where your motivation kicks in, and you're like, I'm glad I'm here. But
Right.
that point leading up to there, like,
Yeah,
some
no
people
one just
feel
wakes
like they
up
should
and
just
feels
have that
ready.
motivation. Same with ending drugs. Like, they just feel like, oh, I should feel like I want to quit, but I don't. So maybe it's not time.
I think people wake up when they feel ready.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I think it's like if you drove yourself to that point, then yes. But that's because you technically still like forced yourself into that state of mind. And I think some people they're so stuck in their ways. It's like they're expecting to wake up and it's all figured out.
Change. Right.
Everything's different now. Yeah, I can do it. You know what I mean? They want to get up, but in reality, like you have to plan it out yourself.
Well, that's why like they say you have to hit rock, but like most addicts have to hit rock bottom. Like, they just gotta feel like there's nowhere else to go at this
But,
point. Like, I either die or I change. Like, they have to hit that floor. They can't just wake up one day and be like, all right, like,
That's
I
the
think I'm
hardest
gonna
part
quit.
probably is because like most people's rock bottom is death. They're
Right.
dead.
Right.
So at that point they're
Right.
past the point of no return.
Right.
So, what about like being past the point of no return? Like, if you're not dead, what would that point be? You know what I mean? Like, it'd probably be different for every other person. But like, what do you think the point would be? Like, what would it be that would be somebody's rock bottom? Is it like their effect to a family member? Is it their effect to themselves? They finally have self realization to what's going on. Like, what do you
I
think
think
it
it's a
would be?
little bit. Well, like, to tie it, like, so where like my background and everything comes with, and all the knowledge I know about methamphetamine and stuff, is like, and you guys already know, we have a family member that's struggling hard and has struggled since he was 11 or 12 years old. They got into drugs and stuff at such a young age and had been locked up from that point, had been in and out, had never really known sobriety outside of like the walls, outside of jail, or and so I just lost my fucking train of thought.
So I mean, he started at a really young age, and he's pretty much at the point where half of
what
his
was
life
rock bottom?
is like a regular, person's life, and then the other half is pretty much equating to everything else he's been through. So it's like, I feel like that person's kind of at this point in their life right now where it's like, you've experienced this just as long as you've experienced this, right?
Mhm.
So he still has the opportunity to make a decision and change it, but you know, it's really hard because I think when people get into stuff like that at a young age, if that goes on for 20 years, that's most of their life.
Right.
So that becomes like almost like the only thing you know.
And to make it clear too, like, just to make it so that like people fully understand, like it's extremely personal for like the three of us because of it. It hits home. It was
home.
really
That
close.
was
It was
home.
home.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we won't say names or who it is or whatnot, and all that stuff. But I want to make sure that that's clear that like everything we're saying is like based off of what we've seen,
Right.
what we've.
I mean, like it's hard on us too because we're not addicted, but we're still addicted. Like we're still part of that drug just as much as he is because we have to learn like what you're looking out for, like what to notice, social cue. Like there's a lot to learn to be able to notice and spot these kind of things. And like over the years, he's in his 20s now, so that big difference. Lots of years, lots of knowledge, lots of background. Like you just kind of
And that's part of why we brought you in is because you have better knowledge of it.
Right.
Because you're closer to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of like, I'll let Coda say his piece. But like for my side, like that's part of why I asked a whole bunch of questions because I didn't feel knowledgeable enough to know about it, and I'm not as close to that situation as you are, and I don't know how close Coda is to it, but just from my perspective and what I've seen is like, it sucks. I hear about all the different stories. I've never actually been a part of it, and I feel really terrible about it because I still love this person like with all my heart because they're my family. But it's also hard too because it's like I'm a strong believer, and it's like if I try to lend a hand, if I try to lend a home, lend a room, lend a ride, lend some money, that at this point said person, to me at least, is almost so lost that they've lost sight of what we mean to them, and they at this point they're faking emotion to take advantage of our emotions so that they can get what they want, and then once they have what they want, they basically just keep using us, and it's a cycle, and it's a promise of, hey, I'm gonna get better. No, I'm not. I got your $20, or hey, you gave me a ride to my drug or whatever. And so that's part of why I stepped out of the situation. And there's a lot of times I feel really bad about it. Like I sit there and think like, what could I have done better? How could I have helped them? Maybe they wouldn't have gone down the path as far as they've gone. Maybe they wouldn't be as low as they are. So part of it is like, I mean, I put a little bit of blame on myself, but like I said, like I also I don't feel like I can help them at this point. There's nothing I can do or say that's going to help them. They're just at the point where they have to help themselves. And so that's my point of view of it. But like I said, I'm kind of more from a little further back because I pretty much cut this person off, and I'll talk to them every once in a while when they reach out to me, but I don't reach out to them anymore. And like I said, I feel bad for it, and it hurts, but that's just kind of my point of view of it.
Well, and like I get that too, because like you can't drag yourself down for somebody that, for better or lack of the word, just doesn't care. Like, and now that we're like grown up and we're not siblings all under the same roof and stuff anymore, like we have families. We can't put our family first because we have to put our family first.
Yeah.
Right.
Na 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 na.